So we believe that our bill is compliant with the ECHR.
It was a statement made more than once by the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak as he appeared before the House of Commons Liaison Committee on March 28th.
My belief is that the bill is compliant with the ECHR.
But by now even Larry the Cat knows Sunak's illegal migration bill is a flagrant breach of the government's obligations under both the Refugee Convention and the European Convention on Human Rights. And the Prime Minister knows it. It says as much on the front page of the bill.
The bill, very unusually, on the cover, says the Home Secretary is unable to make a statement that the provisions of the illegal migration bill are compatible with the Convention rights.
And there's more.
In a letter to Tory MPs, the Home Secretary conveys the legal advice that there is a more than 50% chance the provisions may not be in line with the Convention.
One judge with 14 years' experience on the European Court of Human Rights says the bill could breach international law on issues like access to justice and unlawful detention enshrined in Articles 5, 3 and 13 of the European Convention.
It seems pretty clear to you why lawyers in government think this could quite easily, more than 50% chance by the government's own reckoning, breach the European Convention.
Yes, I can, and I must say I found the statement a little bit curious to say that they couldn't give a statement of compatibility with the convention, but nevertheless were satisfied that it was compliant with international law. Of course, the convention is an important part of international law for this purpose.
And at first glance, you can see three articles which, from your knowledge of the way the European Court works, could easily see Britain found in breach.
Yes, potentially three articles.
Sunak's bill effectively allows the government to commit human rights abuses without consequences. Remember, human rights are universal. It's not up to this government to pick and choose who does and doesn't deserve them. Here's more from barrister and King's Counsel Chris Daw.
It's completely unlawful in international law, and I can break it down for you in very straightforward terms. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was passed in 1948. After the Second World War, it specifically provides that nations must allow refugees or asylum seekers to apply for asylum. That was followed up by the 1951 UN Convention on Refugees, which specifically states the following. Asylum seekers are not required to apply in the first country that they reach. They are entitled to apply in any country which is a signatory to the convention, and they are not required to arrive in that country by lawful or regular means. There is specific provision that asylum seekers are entitled to arrive by irregular means without documentation, because if you use any form of common sense, you'll realise that any genuine refugee is unlikely to have proper documentation, and therefore it's highly improbable that they will have any lawful route to apply to arrive in a country and then apply for asylum. They are, as I say, governed by the European Convention of Human Rights, which provides that anybody in the United Kingdom is protected by due process of law, cannot be imprisoned without a fair trial or any legal process, and I'm afraid this legislation breaks every single one of those fundamental pieces of human rights legislation, international law.
I think actually the Refugee Council, they think it would have a deterrent effect.
What the UN Refugee Agency has said is that deporting asylum seekers without considering their claims amounts to a clear breach of international law. And on this point, listen to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees representative in the UK, Vicky Tennant.
It's in breach of international law, it's in breach of the UK's obligations under the International Refugee Convention.
Just to pick up on that, you say it's in breach of law, and I just want to show you the UNHCR's verdict on that legislation. So you say the bill, if enacted, would breach the UK's obligations under the Refugee Convention, the 1954 Convention relating to the status of stateless persons, the 1961 Convention for the Reduction of Statelessness, and international human rights law. So you're pretty clear that they are breaching international law.
So who do we believe, the UN's HCR representative in the UK or a government that lies about practically everything?
So we believe that our bill is compliant with the ECHR.
It's hard to believe that just a few months ago the Prime Minister promised the public this.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability